When Einstein came up with his general theory of relativity, he removed ether from the equation. That is the first principles error. If there were properties in empty space that our physicists or theoretical physicists could use, a lot of the problems we have today would have gone away. But they can't use it because Einstein eliminated it. And that is the core error that has set us off into the never land.
For 2,000 years before Einstein came in, there was the assumption that space was filled with an ether. And the ether had physical properties that would interact with other objects. There was always the use of an ether within the model. And the first principle that Einstein changed was eliminating physical properties in empty space and literally making ether a dirty word in the physics community. Now, for the last 100 years, scientists have been trying to sneak something in that sounds a lot like ether dozens of times to explain anomalies that they couldn't explain without an ether. And at each point, they never call it ether. It's dark energy, or it's vacuum energy, or string theorists have a different idea, but it's something that looks and smells and sounds a lot like ether.
Let me start by telling you a story. Imagine that there were a planet that was immersed in a deep ocean. What would their conception of the physical world and of physics be like? Well, at first, they would regard their surroundings, the water, as just the way things are. They wouldn't have a concept that there was a world without water. That's the way it always is. They'd think of that as space. That's what space is. But eventually, as they got more sophisticated, they'd start to think of water, space for them, as a material. The big idea that I want to convey, we're like those fish. We're ethereal beings. We're children of the ether. Really? Didn't you read that ether is totally discredited? That it was something that went out with the theory of relativity in 1905? Einstein really didn't like it because the medium would have to have very strange properties, namely the properties that he wanted in special relativity. And he thought that was absurd. No material could have that property, so the heck with it. This is a picture of empty space. What we perceive as empty space is actually a medium that's full of spontaneous activity. The brighter colors indicate a higher density of energy, and the lesser colors are lesser energy. And you can see that there's weather in space. Space has many properties that you would think of as associated with the material.
So two things. One is that he's absolutely right. We need to add an ether back into it, and it does have energy properties. And the second is only a Nobel laureate could get away with saying something like this, either a Nobel laureate or someone who's already been excommunicated from the Church of Einstein. The physics establishment won't take this very seriously, because if there is an ether and it's added back in, it will start a revolution in the physics industry. And that's something they really don't want to have happen. But that was the first principles error, the biggest first principles error. And Einstein screwed up.